Former President Trump will address the residents of East Palestine today. This is nearly 3 weeks after that devastating train derailment. He's going to put on a big show, isn't it? It's going to be like a campaign rally.
We're bringing thousands of bottles of water, Trump water, actually, most of it. Some of it we had to go to a much lesser quality water. You want to get those Trump bottles, I think, more than anybody else. But we're bringing a lot of water, thousands of bottles, and we have it in trucks, and we brought some on my plane.
You don't have to be Nostradamus to predict that he will make the statement that he would have handled it better.
Biden and FEMA said they would not send federal aid to East Palestine under any circumstance. They're not going to send aid. I thought that was a strange statement because I've been working with FEMA for a long time, 4 years, and they were great with us with the tornadoes, the hurricanes, and things like this. And it was a strange statement to come out, and they were doing nothing for you. They were intending to do absolutely nothing for you. JD and I spoke, and they said, they're not coming. They're not going to come. And I said, that's very strange.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and I've got a riddle for you. And as the anchor says, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. Who is narcissistic enough to take a disaster and make it about them? Who is so full of himself that he would take the suffering of Americans and blame it on the closest CNN reporter in the building? Who is so unreasonably selfish that he would brag about the smallest effort possible of helping his fellow human? If you guess the giant orange tyrant himself, then you get the prize.
FEMA said specifically this doesn't meet the criteria, and that's horrible, and somebody has to do something for those people. I said back, when I announced that I was coming, they changed their tune. It was an amazing phenomena.
Even though this was clearly a photo op and campaign stop for Donald Trump, his first words were that his people should get the credit for helping this town. If that's not him in a nutshell, then I don't know what is. Trump desperately tried to stay on cue with a written speech for him, but he really cannot help himself. He has to throw in statements on fake news and attacking Democrats. He also attacked FEMA, even though FEMA has said that they will be sending in relief efforts.
You know, it reminds me a little bit, I don't know if you remember when Ohio State wasn't going to be playing football for another season. They were going to sit back and watch with the China virus or COVID, whatever you want to call it. And I called the head of the Big Ten football. I said, you got to get this football open. And they were great. They responded, and Ohio State played that season. Nobody remembers that, I think, right? Does anybody know? You got at least one. You could be close, but by now you still would be close, probably.
As this has all become a bitter partisan issue, as residents here say the Biden administration has just failed to stand up in the face of this crisis. Meantime, you have the Ohio governor, Mike DeWine, along with the EPA administrator, Michael Regan, making a show of drinking the tap water. Obviously, that's a statement that the tap water they believe is safe and that they have confidence in the testing.
If you want to criticize the government's response to this disaster, feel free, but don't pretend for a second that if Trump were in the White House, that this kind of thing would be taken seriously. He would blame it on someone else and move on. He would also make it a point to keep adding on to the deregulation that he loves to do. His loyalty will always be to big business and wherever he can secure a flow of cash. And I wouldn't be surprised if he used this tragedy to fundraise for himself and his campaign. Trump even throws in a joke about donating his brand of water to the town, because of course he did. Again, he had to make it about him and his brand and where he pulls in money from. Nothing Donald Trump does that looks like charity is ever actually an act of charity. This is about him looking good in the beginning of his campaign, which has struggled a bit since he announced his run for 2024. Keep in mind that these people who claim they care and tear up in front of the cameras are the same politicians that take money from companies that push for deregulation. They shove enough dollars in the faces of the GOP and they can't see all the tragedies that these companies are responsible for. You think that this is the first time toxic chemicals have caused issues in the community? No, and they are pulling the same tricks that we saw in Flint, Michigan, where people still struggle to have access to clean water and trust their local governments. Don't let the monologues fool you, because these GOP scam artists work for the donors, and that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.